instructions. Once again, our ring announcer, Mark Biro.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the Grand Casino Convention Center in Tunica, Mississippi, Top Rank Incorporated, in association with Budweiser, the undisputed, undefeated king of beers, This Bud's for You, presents the ESPN main event of the evening, 12 rounds for the WBU Junior Middleweight Championship of the World. Your referee for this event from Biloxi, Mississippi, Fred Steinwinder III. Introducing first the challenger in the red corner, wearing the gold and red trunks, weighing 149¼ pounds. He hails from St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands with a professional record of 55 victories, 4 defeats, and 49 wins coming by way of knockout. He is ranked #1 in the world by the WBU, and the challenger, Julian the Hawk Jackson. His opponent in the blue corner, wearing the black trunks with red and white trim, weighing in at 152¼ pounds. He hails from Troy, New York, with a professional record of 29 victories, 8 defeats, 1 draw, and 14 wins coming by way of knockout. He is represented by the Dukes of Boxing, the WBU Junior Middleweight Champion of the World, Verno Phillips. 12 rounds for the
champion Phillips and the former champion Julian Jackson. Let's take a look at the rules as governed by the WBU. No 3 knockdown, no standing 8. Fighter cannot be saved by the bell in any round. Only the referee may stop the bout, and in an accidental foul, the key here is that there is no round of delineation, and I'll talk more about that. Here's Al's keys to victory.
For Phillips, he's got to survive the early onslaught. He's got to remember to work the body to tire Jackson out for later. And for Julian Jackson, man, come out firing. But don't load up on every punch. That'll make him tired later.
Those are Al's keys to victory. As far as that accidental foul rule is concerned, normally after 6 rounds, say, they go to the judges' scorecards. If there's an accidental foul, the injured boxer cannot continue. Prior to that, a technical draw. The WBU says if you cannot continue, you lose. So in other words, if Al is beating me for 11 rounds and Al suffers a cut accidentally and he cannot continue, Al loses and I win. And I talked with the referee, Fred Steinwinder III, about that at length yesterday at the rules meeting and today as well. And he said, that's what we're doing. Let's take a look at the knockout ratio. Jackson, of course, with 34 of his 49 knockouts in the first 3 rounds. You take a look at the first round knockouts, Al.
Well, the story is simple here. I mean, Julian Jackson, very dangerous early. Verno is not a quick starter. We've seen him down on the canvas in fights early in bouts. So for him, the first couple of rounds, very, very important.
And that one first round knockout by Phillips came a long, long time ago, 17 bouts ago.
And Verno Phillips is not the kind of guy, while he is a boxer puncher type, who is going to be real cautious early. And you see him, he's not cautious. So he certainly is a guy who is vulnerable early to Jackson's power.
On October the 31st in Ohio on ESPN, Jackson scored a 3rd round TKO against Eduardo Gutierrez. Phillips last fought on August the 29th on ESPN's Championship Boxing, an 11th round knockout of Godfrey Niakana to win the WBU title. Al, you and I, along with the judges, all had Niakana in that bout winning.
We felt he was ahead. I don't think Verno Phillips and his people believed that Verno was behind. Of course, he made that an academic point by knocking Niakana out. And it is a fact. Verno Phillips tends to not win early rounds, although here, Julian Jackson has done so little offensively that I think he's almost kind of giving Verno a pass in the first round. Jackson is a very good right hand, and people talk about it, but his left hook is wicked. That's the punch, I believe, if there's a punch that will hurt Phillips early, it is the left hook of Jackson.
1 minute to go in round 1. Jackson and Verno Phillips.
Phillips doing a very good job of, when he punches, bringing his hands back quickly. Nice overhand right by Phillips. Now Jackson has, in all his losses, has been knocked out twice by Gerald McClellan, once by Quincy Taylor, and once by Mike McCallum. So you can get him out of it. And there's the left hook to the body by Jackson. He will need to double with that punch. Well, Verno Phillips has to be absolutely ecstatic at the way this first round went.
Up to the end of round number 1, Julian Jackson and Verno Phillips on ESPN's Championship Boxing. Welcome back to Tunica, Mississippi. Bob Papa along with Al Bernstein in the ring. Julian Jackson and Verno Phillips for Phillips WBU Junior Middleweight Championship. Take a look at the numbers in round number 1.
Phillips doing better, and 5 of those punches were jabs. Of Jackson, he landed 4 jabs in that first round, so only 2 power punches landed by Julian Jackson in the first round. One of those was a left hook to the body. That is not the way he imagined this ocean voyage going.
And despite the fact that Jackson is the one with the impressive resume and the one with much more experience, and Verno Phillips maybe does not get the respect that he feels he deserves, people in Las Vegas say that at the time of the fight, Phillips went off as a 6-5 favorite.
There was a lot of betting action on this bout in Las Vegas, and it is pretty much a pick-up fight. We chronicled it that way. Now, hey, big news for Verno Phillips. He gets nailed by a huge right hand by Julian Jackson and doesn't blink early in the fight. It's very good news for him and for his people.
Can a guy like Jackson, who's a big puncher, who has paralyzing power and has throughout the course of his career, on a given night, could maybe just not have the zip?
Yeah, that's for sure. And of course, fighters get old in one night. He is 37 years of age. Now, they've been trying to work Tyrone Boone, his trainer, with Julian on pacing himself a little bit. And that may be what he's doing here. I don't know if ultimately that's the strategy that can win him this fight. Also, sometimes fighters just can't get off. They reach the point where they can't. And we see Julian having some trouble right here. Well, there he goes to the left hook.
Jackson has a 3-inch height advantage and a reach advantage.
One of the mistakes that I think Jackson is making now is that he's not working the body of Verno Phillips as effectively as he might. Because Phillips is not giving him any room to hit him in the head, so you're going to have to work the body.
There's another right that snapped back the head of Phillips, but he does not take a step back.
But I'll go on record right now as saying it won't be the right hand of Jackson that will hurt Phillips. If anything's going to hurt him, because we've already seen him land 2 good right hands, it will be that hook. That's the cruncher of Julian Jackson. And the way to land that fight is going to be throw it to the body first, then to the head.
It's Phillips who fires off one of his own.
Beautiful left hooks by Phillips.
Come to the end of round 2, scheduled for 12. Verno Phillips and Julian Jackson.
Who's not a quick starter? Verno Phillips says, not me. He lands not only that overhand right, but also a beautiful left hook. Part of what he did in round 2 against Julian Jackson, and he comes right out doing it again here in this round.
Take a look at Julian Jackson. 69% of his 49 knockouts have come within the first 3 rounds. He has 11 third-round knockouts. So the key to Jackson is to get his opponents out early.
He has been very tentative so far, Jackson, and part of that due to the fact that Verno Phillips came right out firing on him and put him back on his heels. You see Phillips with the edge in numbers of punches landed and throwing a lot more. Neither man landing at a real big percentage.
37 more punches thrown by Phillips.
Even though Jackson has been a pro for 7 more years than Phillips and has 17 more fights, he has fought about 53 fewer rounds. And that's because those fights go so short for him.
Just over a minute gone by in this third round. Scheduled for 12 at stake. Verno Phillips, WBU Junior Middleweight Championship. As he defends his title the first time.
And you know, in a round like this, the third round, Verno Phillips doesn't even care, honestly, if he would lose a round like this. If this was a round in which Jackson didn't land anything big and he lost it on the judges' scorecards, he doesn't care. He wants to get this fight into the 5th, 6th, 7th round. He's already put 2 rounds in the bank, so Phillips just wants to extend Jackson right now.
Phillips fights out of Troy, New York. He's been there since the age of 3. Actually, both of these guys are from prime vacation spots. Julian Jackson from St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands, and Phillips was born in Belize before his mom moved to Troy, New York.
We have been up into the Northeast for several Verno Phillips bouts, and they have all been exciting. His 2 bouts with Santos Cardona were classics on ESPN in 1995 and 1994. And there's the hook from Jackson. Julian Jackson is making a fundamental strategic mistake. He's not putting himself in a position to throw the left hook. I think he might be cut around his left eye, right eye.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to say it was a clash of heads, so here we are with that rule coming into play.
Good double hook that time by Phillips. Yeah, there's a gash over the right, on the right eyebrow of Julian Jackson. We've come to the end of round number 3 on ESPN. Some action in round 3, Al.
Julian Jackson turns away, and you see the gash over his right eyebrow.
Now, referee Fred Steinwander III informed us it was an accidental clash of heads.
Oh, boy.
And we talked about the WBU version of the accidental foul rule. Take a look at the numbers in round number 3, and you see Phillips with the advantage. And tell you what, could be interesting to see what happens.
And you see an urgency in Julian Jackson, partially because of that cut, partially because he knows that these are the rounds he needs to make something happen. Now he's going after Verno Phillips with conviction.
Al has it a shutout for Phillips after 3 rounds. No surprise there.
Jackson has already made a change in his strategy. You see him going to the left hook to the body and then bringing it up to the head. He won't win this fight unless he does that. He'd have to get real lucky with the right hand to win this bout without using the left hook to the body and the head.
Jackson senses the urgency because, unlike other rules and accidental fouls, normally in a 12-round bout, half of the rounds must be completed prior to that. If the fight is stopped because of an accidental foul, it would be a technical draw. Not in this case, though, Al.
A big left hook by Verno Phillips as Jackson came in. Verno Phillips has gotten the respect of Jackson with his punching power. Now, Jackson has been up to the middleweight division. He's a former middleweight champion. Phillips, more of a true junior middleweight. And I'll tell you what, Verno Phillips is impressing Jackson with his punching power.
You see, Jackson's right about the average for the length of one of his fights, as you see the time left in round number 4.
You know what Verno Phillips is doing that's so clever? Instead of moving to his left, he's mostly moving, or to his right rather, he's mostly moving to his left to take away the hook of Jackson. He's willing to accept the possibility of getting hit with the right hand, but not that hook.
You see Jackson forced to start that whole exchange off with a token right.
Just enough lateral movement from Verno Phillips to freeze Jackson. You know, the last 4 opponents that Jackson has fought nowhere near the level of Verno Phillips. And Phillips comes off a very tough fight against a very good boxer in Godfrey Niakana. That could be having some effect here as well.
And prior to that, he won the WBU title in England against Gianfranco Rossi.
So his competition as of late has been better, even though Jackson has fought the better boxers on the whole.
Come to the end of round number 4, scheduled for 12. Phillips and Jackson on ESPN's Championship Boxing from Tunica, Mississippi. Welcome back back to the Grand Casino in Tunica, Mississippi. Bob Papa along with Al Bernstein. We begin round number 5 of this scheduled 12-round WBU Junior Middleweight Championship bout. The champion, Verno Phillips, defending his title against Julian Jackson. We look at numbers in round 4.
Jackson doing better in that round, getting more in, and now going after Verno Phillips, landing the right, and now they want him to get inside and work the body, they told him, and that is what he is trying to do. So much closer round than the last round.
2 rounds ago, Jackson suffered a cut on the right eyebrow. Cut man, the important man here, Jimbo Esperduli, doing a pretty good job at this point in stopping the blood flow.
There's Jackson going downstairs. Very important for him. And you see, look how the left hook opens up when he gets inside and works the body of Verno Phillips.
Boy, now that really shows a veteran boxer like Jackson and also a level-headed man like Jackson. He is doing what his corner asks.
Right, Tyrone Boone told him exactly what to do, and he went out to try and make it happen in this round. Verno's defense early in this bout has really been good. And he's found some chinks in the armor of Jackson. Look, he'll throw combinations and rumble a little bit with Jackson, but then Verno moves out. He's not going to stand there and slug toe-to-toe with him constantly. And that's why. Look at the right uppercut get in from Jackson.
Has Verno Phillips slowed down a bit, Al?
He's throwing fewer punches, and I think this is a round that Jackson may well be winning, and I would have him winning the round. Again, we'll have to see how effective Jackson can be as we head into these middle and later rounds. Phillips stopped using his jab in this round as well. That's part of the reason why Jackson has been able to get on the inside a little bit more. There's the jab. See how pesky that is, and it bothers Julian Jackson.
Punching right hand for Phillips.
All of this because Verno started jabbing about 45 seconds ago. He had not used that punch early.
Nice combination from Phillips. Tight round to score. Coming to the end of round number 5, an intriguing matchup between veteran Julian Jackson and Verno Phillips from Tunica, Mississippi on ESPN's Championship Boxing.
Here's what Julian Jackson needs to be doing more of. Throwing the left hook on the inside. Now, that one wasn't a huge punch, but it shows you what is open on the inside for him.
We begin round number 6 in the scheduled 12-round WBU Junior Middleweight Championship bout. Verno Phillips defending his title for the 2nd time. Julian Jackson looking for a 4th world title.
There are the punches in round 5. I ended up giving the round to Jackson. And early in this round, Julian doing something he wasn't doing earlier, putting his punches together, backing Phillips up. People that promote Verno Phillips, the Dukes of Boxing, they call themselves, Ron Stevenson, Don Scipio, running that company, feel that Phillips can make some waves here in the junior middleweight division. He's already the WBU champ, and there's some matchups, as we showed you before, to go after. Nice uppercut by Verno.
And he fires off a left hook. Jackson answers with one of his own.
So after the onslaught by Jackson early, here comes Phillips, and he's using the hook and the uppercut and even the overhand rights. Wow, he is nailing Jackson with those shots.
A clash of heads in round number 3 caused a cut on the right eyebrow of Jackson. It has not been a factor to this point. Neither man has been down through the first 5.5 rounds.
So far, the difference has been the hand speed of Phillips. He is younger. He is a truer junior middleweight at this point. Jackson had been up to middleweight. Jackson not as quick right now at the age of 37 as Verno Phillips is.
Phillips gave the middleweight division ago. Lost a 12-round decision in 1997 to Silvio Branco in Italy for the WBU's middleweight title. And he realized junior middle was where I need to be.
And that is the appropriate weight for Verno. This is the way Verno Phillips fights. He works hard in every round. He's working hard in this round, a round that he wasn't doing well in earlier, but has done enough, I think, to come back and probably win the round. And even on the inside now, Jackson not getting as much done as he would like. Oh, that's a beauty.
Yeah, by Julian Jackson. Might have hurt Phillips. Good hook to the body.
That's always been the story with Julian. You give him a chance to land one big shot, and he can turn a fight around.
Julian Jackson, heavy-handed shots here near the end of round 6. Phillips looking to respond. Midway point of the bout.
Right at the end of the last round, Phillips doing his best work, really. A nice combination of Freddie Steinwinder getting in quickly, but a round that otherwise Julian Jackson had more good moments, but Phillips comes out firing in this round.
Round number 7 underway. We'll take a look at numbers through 6 rounds.
Verno Phillips with an edge, but not a huge edge in the punch numbers. And Phillips throwing more punches and landing at a little bit better clip. Neither man landing at a terrific pace. Much of that work that Jackson has done in the last couple rounds has been to the body. Also, you'll notice the bout is being fought at closer quarters than it was earlier. That presumably is good for Julian Jackson.
Plenty of ring to work with. Measures 22 feet by 22 feet inside the ropes.
Phillips is no stranger to being in with big punches. He won the WBO championship from Lupe Aquino, who was a very big puncher at junior middleweight level.
Jackson.
Wow, he is wailing away with that right hand. I have Phillips ahead by 2 points.
I have it even. Round 4 was that one round that could have gone either way.
No question, Julian Jackson is picking up the steam, so much for the form chart. In theory, these should be the rounds in which Verno Phillips is starting to take some control. Instead, it is Jackson. And why is some of that happening? Because of the body work that Jackson has done.
His corner gave him that advice. His caution for a low shot. His corner gave Jackson that advice after the 3rd round, and he has followed suit. Late power after the 6th round. Phillips has 4 knockouts. Jackson has 5.
And here comes Phillips hurting Jackson with a left and a right. Four times before, Jackson has been knocked out in his career. 3 times to world champions. And now he is on his bicycle. That is not the posture that you normally see Julian Jackson in. So what was a great round for Jackson is now turning out to be a nightmare.
Verno Phillips turning it on late here in round 7. Chopping rights from the champion Phillips. Referee Fred Steinwander III steps in.
Can 37-year-old Julian Jackson come back after a bad round like this in the middle of a fight when he's not used to going the long way? Hey, maybe he can. He just whacked Phillips with a good right hand.
Julian Jackson's turn to answer. What a round 7 between Jackson and Phillips.
A wild round of give and take. Twice, Verno Phillips really had the big advantage there, and then toward the end of the round, had Julian Jackson in all kinds of trouble. So while parts of it were very big for Phillips, Jackson also had his moments in that round. But how much did that take its toll on Jackson, being hurt in that round?
Take a look at numbers in round 7 only. Tight.
You see, it was not that big an edge for Phillips. I think he probably hurt Jackson more than Jackson hurt him, and that will probably stay in the judge's mind. And the power shots in round 7, 29 landed for Jackson, 31 for Phillips. So it was very close in that sense, too. They both landed about 60% of their power punches in that round.
That was just a great round.
It really was. You know, Phillips with an excellent left hook. And I think he's got Jackson hurt again. This is not posture that Jackson is used to using the ring in boxing.
No. He's happy it's a big ring right now.
Verno Phillips getting very bold. Will that serve him well? Could he walk into something that Jackson would throw?
Neither man has been down in this bout. Scheduled for 12, just past the midway point of round 8.
You know, Verno Phillips has not scored a KO since 1994. That was 8 fights ago.
Until the one against Niakana.
Right, until the one against Niakana, that's right. And then, but before that, he'd gone a long time without having a knockout, and he would love to turn on the power against Julian Jackson.
Yeah, it was 3 years and 1 month before the Niakana fight, in which he scored a knockout.
He has boxed very well for the most part against Jackson. And when Jackson has been able to land the big shot, Verno's been able to withstand it. Many believed this bout would be over by now, one way or the other. And that didn't mean that Jackson had to be the winner. Even though early knockouts are his forte, he also can be knocked out.
Slower pace here in round 8. Again, Phillips loading up with that left hook. Verno Phillips defending his WBU junior middleweight championship against 3-time world champion Julian Jackson. Hope you're enjoying it on ESPN's Championship Boxing. Welcome back to the Grand Casino in Tunica, Mississippi. Bob Papa along with Al Bernstein. Round 9 underway between Verno Phillips, the WBU junior middleweight champion, defending his title against former 3-time world champion Julian Jackson. We take a look at the punches in round 8. Big round for Phillips.
Phillips having a huge round and becoming more and more bold in what he does to Julian Jackson. And of course, we've talked about the length of fights. Jackson has only been past 9 rounds 5 times, and many more for Verno Phillips.
In his last 10 bouts, Phillips averages about 11 rounds per bout, which A means he's been going a long way, and B means he's been in a lot of title fights.
This is territory that Verno understands. He's a workman. Doesn't knock people out early with one punch usually. Phillips using this round, round 9, to further extend this fight, which he thinks only works to his benefit. Speaking of extending, my Chicago Bulls extended your New Jersey Nets to overtime and beat them by 2 points, 100-98. That's a rough one for the Nets, but a moral victory. Does that help?
Well, they had a good. Well, they're out of. John Calipari says no more moral victories.
Okay.
Changing the culture. Good left. Down goes Jackson. A short left from Phillips puts Jackson down here in round 9. And I don't think Jackson's going to answer. Fred Steinwander at 9. That's it. And maybe it's all over for Julian Jackson. Verno Phillips stops Julian Jackson with a short left in round 9 and successfully defends his WBU junior middleweight title.
For Verno Phillips, he was looking for just this kind of win to put himself once again on the junior middleweight map. He has certainly done that and more. This was one of his absolute best performances, if not the best performance he's had as a pro. And if there was any lack of respect before, it certainly is there now for Verno Phillips.
Verno Phillips impressive against Julian Jackson. And Al, ironically, it was Jackson's power punch by Phillips that put Jackson out.
It was the left hook by Phillips, the punch we thought Jackson would have to land. We see the left hook. We see the left hook of Julian Jackson landing on Julian Jackson against Verno Phillips. And Jackson's still on the canvas, and we hope he'll be all right. But for Verno Phillips, a win fashioned with power.
And right now they're huddled around Julian Jackson. He's talking with the doctor, and there is 28-year-old Verno Phillips. He gets his 30th victory, his 15th knockout. He defends his WBU junior middleweight championship, stopping Julian Jackson in round 9. We'll hear from Verno after this timeout. Coming up next on ESPN Sports Center, the Super Bowl edition. Steve Levy and Gary Miller are in Bristol, and our whole crew is in San Diego to preview Super Bowl 32. Verno Phillips has successfully defended his WBU junior middleweight championship as he stops Julian Jackson with a gorgeous left hand in round number 9. And now for the official time of the stoppage, our ring announcer, Mark Bureau.
Ladies and gentlemen, the time, 2 minutes, 1 second of the 9th round. The winner by knockout and still WBU junior middleweight champion of the world, Verno Phillips.
Verno Phillips with an impressive effort. He stops Julian Jackson in round number 9 with a knockout. Verno standing by with Al Bernstein.
We are here with Verno Phillips, and Verno, that was a performance that might have been your best overall boxing performance that we've seen.
Well, I want to first say my daughter was in my training camp, kept me focused, and I done it. He's a hell of a fighter, you know. I looked up to him in the 80s, you know what I mean? All his KOs in the first, second round, you know. My team, you know, kept me training, you know, be focused.
Well, you fought great. Let's take a look at the knockout. It would be a left hook that you hit him with. You started to throw that punch in the middle rounds, and you knew he was tired at this point, didn't you?
Well, right there.
Now, Tony Rodriguez, he said he's holding your left hand. He said you guys have been working on that left hook a lot.
All right.
Take a look at it. You got that punch. Let me ask you, you were able to weather punches early from him. Did he ever hurt you early in the fight?
He caught me on top of my head like twice, you know, in the 3rd and the 4th round. But I just kept on hanging in there, and I knew I was going to come out being a winner, and I'm still the champ.
Now, you went in the favorite in this fight, and yet you felt maybe people weren't thinking of you as the favorite here.
Nah, I was underdog. Every time I fight, I'm the underdog. That's why my trainers, we training hard. I'm getting all of them. I'm getting all the junior middleweight.
All right, let me ask you about the future. There's Keith Mullins, Yuri Boy Campos, your people, the Dukes of Boxing, would like to see you probably in one of those title fights. Who would you like to fight in the junior middleweight?
Dukes handle that, you know.
All right, who's he going to fight?
Well, we're looking for Keith Mullins, we're looking for Rory Boyd Campos, and of course we're looking for Oscar De La Hoya when he moves up to 54.
Yeah, that Oscar De La Hoya name comes up from time to time too, doesn't it? All right, congratulations, an excellent win for Verno Phillips. Verno, you got the job done tonight.
All right, thank you.
All right, let's send things back now to Bob Papa at ringside.
All right, thank you, Al. Verno Phillips gets the victory. He stops Julian Jackson. Julian Jackson has 5 losses as a professional, all in championship fights, and all by way of knockout. Impressive effort for Verno Phillips tonight here in Tunica, Mississippi. He defends his WBU junior middleweight championship, stopping Julian Jackson. Also tonight.